G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Welker, and Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, Happy Festivus to all of you. And for me, everybody knows, the only religious holiday that I celebrate is called the Bledisloe Cup, okay? So yeah, no celebration for me this weekend, and but for all of you, enjoy it. And I know there's like a public holiday in South Africa for winning the Rugby World Cup. Hey, congratulations guys. I think you all earned it. You know, I mean, if the Springboks gets a day off, I can understand that. But I don't know why the rest of the country has to take credit, right, and take the day off. But hey, enjoy your day off, whatever it is you do. For me, the news continues right here in the Southern Hemisphere. I guess it's Northern Hemisphere now. Eddie Jones, obviously last week, has become officially a traitor. Went over to Japan and signed with the Japan Rugby Union. He came out and still insisting that he did not have an interview with Japan prior to the launch of the Rugby World Cup. And yeah, you know, once you lie once, it's just gonna keep up the lie, right? You're gonna lie forever. It's like, cheating on your wife. Once you're gonna keep the lie going, guys. Otherwise your wife's gonna find out, right? You're just gonna keep lying until you get divorced, and then you gotta keep lying and keep on with the lie to your children as well, right? Despite the fact that everybody knows that you're the cheater. That's just how it works in the relationships in these days, guys. Tip from me. And so yes, Eddie Jones continued to lie that he's not had an interview, and proceeded to block Tom Deason, the guy who reported the news. I guess it's reported news here in Australia. I guess in the Western news media, Tom Deason, in the Sydney Morning Herald, he's like a rugby reporter in newspapers here in Sydney, and he's proceeded to block his phone number, and Tom Deason's just, yeah. Anyway, so for the rest of the world, it seems like this was a kind of like a leaked news. But in Japan, this was pretty much public news when before the Rugby World Cup, the Japanese newspapers, you can find it online. Basically, basically said that the chairman in Japan wanted Eddie Jones, and they were pretty set on trying to get him on as soon as possible. And this was reported prior to the World Cup, and so it's pretty and here kind of confirmed by Quetta. So everybody in Japan knew that Eddie Jones had a meeting, and it's not like no secret. I mean, you kind of feel like maybe Quetta is, feeling a bit unhappy about getting sacked by Eddie Jones just for the World Cup as well. But still, Quetta is not lying here. Like, there was reported in, big sports newspapers in Japan that Eddie Jones was going to go, or had an interview at least with Japan Rugby Union. Sonny Bill Williams came out and feel really, weighed in on his opinion. I have a lot of respect for Sonny, and he basically thinks that Japan is, he feels sorry for Japan for actually picking up someone with so much lies. The players, he's actually a bit surprised that with a culture like Japan that has a lot of respect, how the players are going to trust a coach that has this sort of record and history. Eddie Jones is definitely going to continue the lie, right? Like I said, once you lie, you're going to keep up the lie. So, I don't know how he's basically saying like how that's going to fit into the culture in Japan. It's probably not going to go well for Japan rugby in the long run. So yeah, Sonny Bill Williams, a lot of respect for him. I think his comment, the way he looks at the game is really, really brought a lot of insight into how players see things, because he's a player and likes to talk about how the player's perspective. And I think that he's right. Like if you grew up in a culture that's a lot of respect, a lot of trust, to just think that the coach is well known as a liar, how the player's going to cope with that, not too sure. And Sonny Bill don't think it's going to go well. So the coaching role at the Wallabies is still up for grabs. There's some talks that, there is reports that Steve Larkham had said that he's interested in the job, but he hasn't had a conversation yet. And Phil Waugh this week has come out and stated that Michael Cheika could be in the considerations for the job. I know a lot of guys remember, including me, Michael Cheika don't want Michael Cheika to take the job, because we all remember what happened in 2019 when Michael Cheika refused to play the kicking game. Oh God, no, you shouldn't kick the ball away. And then just basically lost to England by just stubborn refusal to play to adapt to the play style that Eddie Jones at the time, at his prime, I guess back then. You know, in 2019 when Cheika lost to the Wallabies after the World Cup, I still remember Cheika came out and he made a pretty public stab at Rugby Australia, saying that he basically had to operate the team by himself without any management support. He basically said that he had no relations with anybody from Rugby Australia in terms of like a business relations with any of them. So he's basically running the team, and we all remember how Israel Folau's issue was handled. Rugby Australia tried to go woke and end up really hurting themselves at the Rugby World Cup as well. And so Michael Cheika, pretty controversial decision if they're going to bring him back. I did think that he did a great job taking the Waratahs to win the Super Rugby, back when Super Rugby was actually incredibly difficult to win, with South Africans involved. And also I thought, the team that he built, the Wallabies, definitely was, he definitely, the Wallabies was going down, and he definitely turned back up against the tide a little bit, I felt. And also his recent records with Argentina I thought was quite decent, like better than, considering how poorly Argentina was heading. He was assistant coach with Argentina, beat the All Blacks the first time, during the pandemic, essentially, here in Australia. And then he was he took over as head coach for Argentina. You can see massive improvements for Argentina, beating the Wallabies a couple of times and flogging the Wallabies at home, and then went on to beat New Zealand for the first time ever in New Zealand. Quite a absolute monumental achievement for any team in the world. To beat New Zealand anywhere in the world is already difficult enough. To beat them in New Zealand, in the Black Fortress, at Christchurch, was absolutely spectacular, pinnacle of any sporting rugby team. So Michael Cheika, and also came out recent times as well, despite the refusal to play the kicking game in 2019, he has come out and stated that he's, definitely worked on the kicking game as a coach, looked into that a bit more, and he's shown that with Argentina as well, the little kicks, the clever kicks behind, and he's definitely even publicly stated that the importance of the kicking game, changing his mind. So I'm pretty happy that Michael has taken the learning curve and really just continued to develop himself as a better coach. So I know a lot of people have negative feelings about this, but I feel like Michael Cheika, unlike Eddie Jones, who's on a downward trend when he was brought in to the Wallabies, I think Michael Cheika is actually developed and grown in the last 4 years or so, since the 2019 exit for the Wallabies. And I do think that Michael Cheika, I think he's a successful businessman, by the way. He's pretty wealthy, and with his business acumen, he might have a few things that he can do to turn the team around again. I don't know. Maybe. So this will be something to think about whether or not. Sonny Williams also weighed in on the departure of Nwanga Netawasi, one of the most promising upcoming talent for the Wallabies on the wing, has decided to switch codes to play for the Roosters for $600,000, and Sonny Williams basically further slammed the former McLennan era and how Eddie Jones handled the team at the Rugby World Cup. And he's just like, from a player's perspective, he couldn't understand how someone, in their early 20s should be having a time of their lives, representing the country, playing all around the world, playing the Rugby World Cup. How can someone like that not want to continue their career playing rugby and wants to play for rugby league? So yeah, he thinks that it's just poor environment that the Wallabies fostered under Eddie Jones and the former chairman Hamish McLennan. Next up, it's just to show how, kind of like the war has evolved between rugby and rugby union here in Australia, has spilled over to the United States. NRL is trying to expand rugby league into America, and I think they've got a state of origin lined up at Vegas. I think either next year or the year after. I think it's next year, and maybe they got like a big event coming up in Las Vegas for I don't know, maybe like Super Round or something. They have something going on there. I don't know. So they went to Vegas. They went to see one of the rugby union clubs, and basically, which one was it? They basically had like a training session with a union club instead of a local rugby league club, which led to the Utah Rugby League Association sending out like a pretty dissatisfied message to NRL, that, how can you come into to have a session with rugby union club instead of a rugby league club? Clearly, the target for NRL is against rugby union rather than develop the sport. Even in America, they're still trying to take a shot at rugby union any way they can. So Gareth Anscombe has found out the hard way. Rugby in Japan, absolutely ruthless rugby in Japan. And we know that Malcolm Marx was replaced due to injuries as well. But Gareth has had a contract with Japan, and this contract has been cancelled due to his injury. So he was signed with the Sun Goliath in Japan, and his contract has been cancelled. He's currently without a contract, so maybe we can get him to play for the Rebels, right? Nicolas Sanchez has stepped in for the injury spot at Sun Goliath. Again, absolute Argentina hero at the Rugby World Cup. Him coming off the bench just really excited me. I still remember just him coming in, kicking clutch winning goals for scoring tries against Wales, in fact, to win the game for Argentina in the quarterfinal. Unbelievable player. Nicolas Sanchez has gone to Sun Goliath to replace the injured Gareth Anscombe. Ireland has confirmed the signing of Andy Farrell till 2027. They gave him a full 4-year extension. Prior to the full 4 years extension, believe it or not, Andy Farrell only had 2 years extensions since the departure of Joe Schmidt. He got 2 years and then extended that into another 2 years into the Rugby World Cup. So he wasn't even going to take the Ireland team to the Rugby World Cup if it wasn't for the extension. So somehow Eddie Jones gets 5 years after completely running England rugby into the ground, and Andy Farrell couldn't get a 4-year extension right prior to this, despite taking Ireland into promising results after the departure of Joe Schmidt. Joe Schmidt had left Ireland in a quarterfinal exit as well, so Andy Farrell had a lot of work to do to turn that around. And Andy Farrell finally got probably what he actually deserved, a 4-year extension. And his assistant, Mike Catt, has decided to depart following the end of his run. And believe it or not, nobody actually knows this, but fun fact, I don't know anybody, in fact, this surprised me when I found out, Mike Catt actually won the Rugby World Cup in 2023 with England. Did you believe that actually happened? Mike Catt, yes, the guy that got ran over by John Olomu, everybody knows him as the guy got trampled by John Olomu. He actually won a World Cup, believe it or not. Yeah, I'm surprised. When did England win the Rugby World Cup? That's news to me. I didn't even know that was a thing, but apparently England actually won a World Cup, and Mike Catt was part of the team. So that's actually news to me. So yeah, apparently that happened. So Michael Cheika, I already mentioned, has left Argentina, and he's currently, there was some talks actually, not that long, a couple weeks ago, that he was going to extend due to the good results he brought to Argentina. There was a lot of fanfare for him. People were holding up Michael Cheika heads at the Rugby World Cup that he was going to extend with Argentina, but no, he's actually left as he kind of promised that he was going to, said that he was going to do, and he's now open in the market where it's going to go next. He's going to go to NRL, he's going to come back to rugby to coach the Wallabies, who knows, right? But Michael Cheika has actually still left, and as, the original plan, Felipe Contempomi, the succession plan was laid out many years ago when the Mario Ledesma resigned, the former coach, when he handed it over to Michael Cheika, I think in 2022, after the run in 2022. So Michael Cheika took over in 2023. 2021. Michael Cheika took over in 2022 and 2023. And during that 2-year period, he was putting as basically the transition coach between Ledesma and Contempomi. So he's basically saying, hey, I've done my job, handing it over to Contempomi. Despite there was a lot of fanfare for him to stay, he has actually decided to leave. So yeah, Contempomi has taken over. The former Argentinian international, a legend in Argentina, and I think he played in Leicester, or in Europe as well, in Ireland. But absolute legend. It's going to take Argentina going forward. There were some reports that the Rebels is finally going to go under. 9 million in debt, but the CEO came out and said that in response to recent negative media coverage originating out of Sydney, Melbourne Rebels wish to address the speculation and that the future is extremely bright. Yes, you had like what 10, 15 years now to get the Rebels on track, and you still haven't been able to. It's an absolute dog show there in Rebels. They have all the top talents, right? And then they just cannot deliver anything year after year. And then they just send them overseas, right? Everybody goes to the Rebels, and then they just go overseas. It's the treadmill that, you know, that's the way of Rugby Australia is, right? You go to Rebels, you get your career spoiled, and you get exported. That's just how it works, right? Like, you know, Quay Cooper got exported. Everybody, Marinka Cohen-Betty, you name it. Reece Hodge, everybody was just exported out of Rebels because they go there, and then they have like one of the best teams, and then they just get run to the bottom of the ladder because, you know, nobody at the management knows how to run a rugby team at all, and then they get sent overseas, right? Like it's better to not have this team. I mean, honestly, like it's actually no, you know, I think it's good to have a team in Melbourne. I just want to clarify, but the way this run at the moment is absolutely atrocious. They need to find some better managers. The New Zealand Rugby has finalized their coaching team for the All Blacks, the mighty All Blacks, under the new era, the dawning of the Razor Robertson era. The former, you know, this guy, Razor, they call him a Razor because he's razor sharp, by the way. He's extremely smart. And so the final, let's have a look at the final All Blacks coaching management for 2024 going forward. So obviously, Scott Robertson, Razor, is going to be head coach. Jason Ryan, probably the savior of Ian Foster's Rugby World Cup. You know, not Rugby World Cup, but the savior of Ian Foster's All Blacks job for the last 2 years. Who was previously the Crusaders head coach already, not head coach, forwards coach already, stays to continue his job with his former boss for Scott Robertson. I think Jason Ryan's done an absolutely amazing job. Without Jason Ryan, the All Blacks would not be at the Rugby World Cup final, would have been gone way sooner. And Jason Ryan has done just absolutely tremendous job to turn the All Blacks around. Leo McDonald, the former All Black and I think most recently, the Blues head coach, interestingly, has been brought in as an attack coach. I thought the Blues has been quite good in Super Rugby recently, but again, chokers, just like Leon McDonald used to be, I guess. He's brought the choke into the Blues, but he will be assistant coach for the All Blacks. Hopefully, he leaves the choking behind him. Scott Hansen has been brought in as a defense coach. Scott Hansen already formerly with Scott Robertson at the Crusaders as a defense coach. Jason Holland, the Hurricanes coach, has been brought in as an assistant backs coach. Tamaiti Ellison is a skills coach. He was working with the Crusaders as well, and he's been with Crusaders for how long? A couple of years now, I think. Again, just a really well set up for the Crusaders. So they have pretty much Robertson pretty much has all his assistants from the Crusaders that brought them all the success for the Super Rugby Championships into the team, as well as Leo McDonald and Jason Holland from the former Hurricanes and the Blues coach in to assist him as well. Wayne Smith, the women's success at the Rugby World Cup, has been, and formerly, you know, he has been assistant coach for the All Blacks as well in the past, as brought in as performance coach, a high performance coach. Jamie Hamilton, head performance analyst, and then we'll just go down the analysts here. None of else really matters, I guess. Analysts, dietitians, operation managers, so on and so forth. But yeah, pretty good lineup for the All Blacks. I think that's you know, something that everybody can be pretty happy about in New Zealand. Matt Todd, speaking of the Crusaders, they have been drained of some of their coaches. Matt Todd has been brought in as the former All Black, has brought in as a assistant coach under Rob Penny for the Crusaders going forward. We've got some talks about, not Rich, but yes. Anyway, Scott Burger came out last week and basically in a podcast talked about how he rejects the idea that Springboks got lucky winning the Rugby World Cup. I mean, I keep seeing comments, people complaining about the Rugby World Cup draw being unfair, leading to the elimination of, Ireland and France. But the team that had the toughest run out of all the teams, like the worst draw out of all the teams at the Rugby World Cup, which is South Africa, won the World Cup. So it's really just the skill issue, guys. got to get good, got to get better. Don't complain about the pool. No, just got to get better, mate. It's 100% just a skill issue. So yeah, stop complaining. The team that had the toughest run won the game, won the Rugby World Cup, and really put all the doubters to bed. I watched a little bit of rugby recently, so there was one I watched, the Champions Cup game between La Rochelle and Stormers, where the Stormers scored a last-minute try with Mane the Bok, believe it or not, kicking a goal from the sideline. I was like, oh boy, getting anxiety watching Mane the Bok doing goal kicks. Right on the sideline, kicks it and wins the game for Stormers over La Rochelle. And now the La Rochelle has lost 2 games in a row. Basically, they're looking at potentially losing, getting eliminated from the pool. I don't know how it works, but it's looking pretty bad for them. For defending their champions. I don't know. They were formerly champions, looking pretty bad for La Rochelle. There was a game though I watched. I had to turn off, so I didn't actually watch this game. This was between the Glasgow Warriors and what was it? Bay? What's his name? Bayonne? Was it Bayonne? What was it? Wait, what? Yeah, Bayonne. So I know Bayonne is like an underdog. They've managed to find themselves a draw against Munster, which was really, really impressive. I watched the ending to that game. I couldn't believe how hard these guys were really throwing themselves into Munster. And Munster has been very clunky again. A draw and a loss. I think Munster had a loss, a game that they should have won and then lost it, like after leading by 9 points. Shouldn't have happened. So Munster lost to that. But the key here is that this game, I had to turn off because there was a marching band playing the same marching music again and again on loop, non-stop, and literally all I can hear in the game is the commentary and the same marching music on loop. And I thought they were gonna stop, right? Like it went on for 10-15 minutes non-stop, and it was just literally the tune was getting stuck in my head. I had to turn it off. So yeah, really just take a break, guys. Play your song when you score a try or something, but don't just constantly play. And also the broadcasters, just pull the cameras a bit further away, pull the microphones a bit further away from the marching band so that it's not just overwhelmingly the same music getting blasted out of my TV screen. And it was really annoying. So I have to call out the Glasgow Warriors for that a little bit, I guess. There was a bit of bizarre ending in the Leicester Tigers and the Stade de France game where one of the fans, this was in France, took one of the ball and didn't give it back to the team. So the game played on, and then they threw the ball in field and disrupted the game, which was just I don't know how they could let that happen. Really poor management in the ground stuff that have to continue the game. Despite that, it was really close. But in the end, the Stade de France, influenced the game. Some outside guy, fans influenced the game. We don't really want to see that. Again, also, this guy could have scored a try. Nice crossfield kick straight to the bread basket, and he dropped the ball. Anyway, moving on. Romain Ntamack has been seen running again after rupturing ACL just before the Rugby World Cup. He is not going to be expecting to play the rugby at the Six Nations this year, as he will be out till maybe April, just after Six Nations. Matt Giteau has come out of retirement to go for one more run at the United States Rugby Major League Rugby season with the San Diego Legion. It's good living in Hollywood, I guess. Not Hollywood, living in America, in California. And he's come out of retirement at 41 years of age to play in America. So we'll be having a good time there. Achi Snyman has announced his new club after leaving Munster. He's going to Leinster under the current new coach, Jax Ninaba. He's taken up, one of his boys, long-term boys, 2-time World Cup winner, and just taking him under his wing at Leinster. Canan Doris has committed to Ireland Rugby to 2027. A big boost to that. So Tulu Latu, a former Wallabies player, was touted to be coming back to the Waratahs, and then he kind of recently committed back with the French top 14. I guess probably the right decision there, considering the current state. He has left La Rochelle and then joined Montpellier in France instead of coming back to Australia. Darcy Graham has returned. Not returned yet, but is looking at returning soon for Edinburgh. One of the probably the best winger in Scotland history. Saracens is injured. Ben Earls is going to be returning a bit earlier. The best performer for England rugby. And finally, Billy Vunipola has gotten the Owen Farrell treatment following a red card against the Bulls. Has got red card rescinded, and the reason for it was that despite there was head contact in this clean-out, it was low impact. So yeah, Billy Vunipola has his red card rescinded with the Owen Farrell treatment. Yeah, it is what it is. Let me know what you think, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and that's the news for this week. Have a good Christmas, Merry Holidays, Happy New Year, Merry Festivus, and for all of us. And thank you for watching, guys. Have a good week. Enjoy yourselves. Cheers. See you guys next week.